So what are your views on that legalization of like drugs? Like it's as hard and down to soft and
It's a big question, but for me, I feel like all drugs should be legal. If you're in a situation where you genuinely care about the health of your people, the best way to have drugs, you know what I mean, if you're a society that cares about the health of your people, is to legalize it, and then you can regulate it. You know, it's a difficult issue because, you know what I mean, in terms of sort of the UK and how things are, trying to improve little things like, you know what I mean, the legalization of drugs. I know for a fact that the people who control this country don't want to see us in a position of better health, and that's why they don't legalize drugs, because it's a case of it's something that's wrong. You know, them ones, you know what I mean, certain people see it as something that's wrong, but those in control, it's great for them. The more people on drugs, the more, you know, I mean, I'm talking alcohol, you know what I mean, cigarettes and coffee, as much as heroin, crystal meth and chemical forms of weed, you know what I mean, it's all great. If you're sedated, you're not willing to fight, you know what I mean. But you know, if I can think of some sort of idealized society where, you know what I mean, the state, even if it's a sort of along the sort of apparatus that we have now, care about the people, the best way to, people are always going to take drugs, do you know what I mean, in some form. It's you know what I mean, I don't like to even use the term human nature, because I think human nature is socialized a lot of the time, but people, throughout our history, people have taken drugs. Human history, people have taken drugs, and you know what I mean, if you make something hidden, if you take something away from people and you make it taboo, you know what I mean, people are always going to want to try and get hold of that. The reason why kids want to smoke weed, why kids want to do coke, why kids want to even drink alcohol, is because they're not allowed to do it. If you say, yeah, you know what I mean, everything's legal, everything can be done by everyone, you can open dialogue and explain the effects, one, you know what I mean, and the consequences of these things in a way where people aren't scared to talk about it. Oh no, drugs is just some horrible thing that you're not supposed to do, you know what I mean. And then some kids will be like, oh yeah, shit, I shouldn't do that. And some kids are like, oh snap, I want to do that, you know what I mean. That won't exist, because you'll be able to educate them in a way where it's like, this is what mushrooms does, this is what weed does, this is what cocaine does, and they can make an informed decision about whether they want to do it. They can you know what I mean. Imagine you were just like, you know what, I want to try cocaine. I'll go to the chemist and get a bit of cocaine. You try it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And if you know you want to do it and you want to continue this, you can get a clean product that's going to give you a clean buzz. The majority of people who die from drug abuse, it's because of the dirty extra chemicals that are added to the drugs, because it's on street level, innit? You know what I mean? The opium and heroin are near enough the same thing, apart from all the dirty shit that gets put into heroin, and that's what's killing people. People take pills, you know what I mean? You don't know what's in those pills. People are dying, you know what I mean? There's all these different things that will damage you in next ways, but there's a lot of positive aspects to drugs. Do you know what I mean? If you ever read, was it Doors of Perception, Aldous Huxley, writing about his experimentations with I can't remember the name of the drug, but hallucinogenic drugs.
Like LSD.
I think it wasn't necessarily LSD. There's a specific one he was doing when he wrote that, but he did all kinds of different drugs. LSD was definitely one of them. And it opens your mind in different ways and changes your perception and allows you to see things, and he's a good example of that. There's all kinds of people, but you know what I mean, all different types of indigenous societies all over the world have used drugs ritualistically to be able to see worlds and to look into the spirit world and to look into, you know what I mean. And these are things that shouldn't be hidden from people. You know, if you want to experiment with these things, you should be allowed, but do it in a safe. It's about creating a safe environment for people to do this. And also, then if people do get addicted and do want to, you know what I mean, get into a position where they're like alcohol, which is a legal drug in the UK, people get addicted to it. There's a lot more help for people who are addicted to alcohol, because it's not so much of a taboo than there is to people who are addicted to crack or anything else. You know what I mean? It's just sort of shunned, put away, and then they're given methadone or they're given other things that just keep them dependent, and they're not actually helped. You know what I mean? That's one big issue. And another thing is that the second reason people take drugs is because, and become dependent on drugs, is because they're trying to run away from problems that are created within their lives by society, by their family life, by their home life, all different kinds of reasons. And if you have a happy, say, or you know, a society where people are encouraged to be happy and encouraged to genuinely like live fulfilling lives, you wouldn't have as much problems with drug addiction. We're encouraged to live horrible lives. We're put into situations where we're put into mind-numbing jobs where you can't get a job and got to do certain hustles to do what you got to do and to survive. And people don't want to face up to that reality. So what do? You escape. Escapism. The clearest way to escape when you can't afford to go abroad or to go to have a holiday whenever you're feeling stressed is to take drugs. You know what I mean? And it's always to escape a problem and to mask deeper issues. So if you had a society I was talking about before where the people were encouraged to live fulfilling lives, you wouldn't get the same level of drug abuse as you do now in the moment, and you could legalize it and have it in a way where it was used, you know what I mean, for experimentation and to see things differently, and yeah, that's the deeper issue is people still, when they're on drugs, because they need money for more drugs, because they can't go and get it from a legal source. Why are they doing that? Because they're damaged and they have problems in their life they're trying to escape from, and they need that drug to not have to face up to those problems. Because the reality is, even if they can face up to those problems, where's the solution? You know what I mean? You've had a mad life, and then you get yourself clean, you get off your drugs, you know what I mean? What's your reality? Going to work in Tesco, or going to work in some job that you hate to make money for some people that you hate and who hate you, and just be some mad dominated slave, you know what I mean? And that's what kind of life is that for us to live? But that's the life we all live, and that's why so many people take drugs and drink a lot and just don't face up to the reality of the situation, which will only change if the entire structure of society is changed. You know, it's all good trying to, like, you know what I mean, create little programs and trying to get people off certain drugs, but if you have no alternative to offer them, nothing's going to genuinely change. So you can chip away and try and improve society in a reformist way, but the foundations of this society, of Western society, British society, is based on rape, exploitation, plunder of the rest of the world to serve a minority of people. How is that ever going to be able to be improved in a way that's positive for the majority of people? It can't. So they're never going to legalize drugs to help drug addicts. You know what I mean? The same way they're never going to genuinely create a situation where people can be free of the chains of society that force people to have to run away and escape through drugs. So in Britain, you know what I mean? You want to fix the drug problem? Have a revolution. In a different society that was aimed at helping people, not at exploiting people, legalize the drugs, regulate it, and give it to the people and let them do as they want. Let them have the freedom to make their own decisions. That's my view.